Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 finale of The Wheel of Time. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So I love that we have all the storylines converging. Once again, everything has already been set up for it all to kind of go down in Falme. But I love that opening where we met the previous dragon, Lulz, and we learned it's not just Lanfear that had a strong connection to him, because there was a love situation between them, but it was also him and Ishmael. They were friends. That's what they even talk about later on, that Ishmael and Lanfear always had, like, those three were, and Luz, they were always inseparable. So I guess that's what made that situation so complicated, because it's like, right, join the dark side. This way we can break the will, because once again, Ishmael's coming from, like, we're all trapped in these loops we can't escape. Yes, we come back as different people, but we're always falling in this recycle. The wheel is a terrible thing because we can never fully escape. We're all trapped in our pain. There is no getting away from it. We're stuck, like I said, stuck in these cycles, and he wants to break it, and he wanted Luz to break it, but Luz was like, no, I'm not going to break it. So he's like, fine, you go ahead and kill me. At some point in time, we're going to do this whole rodeo again, but Luz is like, that's why I'm not going to kill you. It's like, you're going to be conscious, but it's going to be more like dreaming. But you won't be aware or something like that. And he locked him up. It's like, to be fair, it would have been, the can would have gotten kicked down the road at some point in time, because first and foremost, Luz did this because he didn't want to kill the person. I mean, I'm sure that's the same reason why things went down with Lanfear, of like, either it's just not that easy to kill a Forsaken, which we'll get to that much later on, or it could just be like I just don't have it in me to try and kill one of my best buds. Like, you are so important to me, and I don't have it in me to try and kill you. Regardless of, it is a thing of you'll be sealed away. It's just like he kind of kicked that can down the road, and now it's on Rand. He even said that he believed that this seal was so tight that even he couldn't destroy it. So it begs the question, is Rand that much stronger than him, or did Luz just kind of underestimate his own power? Because even he probably could have broken through it, or maybe over 3,000 years the seal got weak enough that, because I don't know, I don't think they did, I don't remember if there was a very, because I'm trying to remember, like, that thing that kind of got broken, that stone or whatever, like, did it help channel and enhance Rand's power or something? The reason, once again, it's my own fault for not rewatching season 1 in preparation for this, but I'm like, I don't remember him doing anything special, but like I said, if I'm wrong, do correct me in the comments down below, but I'm like, I'm curious, is that just Luz saying that because he, either to try and psych himself out of it so he's never tempted to try and release his friend, or it was complete and utter BS, and maybe it took about 3,000 years, or maybe it took less than that for Ishmael to be like, nah, he was lying, because he didn't want me to think and know that there was a way out of here, that if something is powerful enough to let him out, it would be the dragon. So that was just an interesting, perfect backstory to kind of get in this finale where everything's culminating, because we have Rand with Maureen, Lan, and Lanfear, but she's got her own thing going on because she kicks them out. They're near Falme, but they're far enough away that they can play the role, because she's like, oh, I would kill you too, but you're actually needed, Moraine. You have your own part to play in this. And she even shows up later on to Ishmael. It's like, oh yeah, Rand's here in Falme. It's like, no, he's not supposed to be here too soon. We've planted the seeds, but they haven't sprouted yet. The fact is, once again, we need his friends to fall to darkness so that Rand feels that he has no choice but to bend to the Dark One, because that's the only way he can save his friends. I mean, he's made it clear that he's willing to sacrifice himself. He disappeared in an attempt to save his friends, so of course he sacrificed himself to the dark to protect his friends. But Ishmael's plans kind of have gone off track with Lanfear's intervention, which I love her being like, oh, come on, like, you are just making excuses because you want everything to be perfect, but it's always going to be, well, there's one more thing. You're always going to be kicking the can down the road, just kind of like Luz did. So I think that is kind of a beautiful parallel. So it's like, either it's going to happen or it's not. So he knows, like, I can't trust Lanfear because she's done all this, which, to be fair, she told you episodes ago. They even showed in the recap. She was like, oh yeah, I'll betray you because we have very different reasons for doing this. Yeah, beside my allegiances, since One Piece is on the mind, because of the live action and everything, it seems like the Forsaken they're definitely in a similar situation to the Seven Warlords, where it's just like like, if I wasn't bound to you, I'd probably doing what I want to anyway, but I'll keep up, like, our agreement. And Lanfear seems like because even, what I thought was so interesting is that even Ishmael was telling, Pat and Fane, like, yeah, at the end of the day, there's multiple paths to the dark. So it's like, yes, she might be going her own way, but the dark one's probably like, all right, I can deal with Lanfear handling things her way, because she probably was thinking that maybe she could nudge Rand in the direction she needs to. So it's like, as long as I'm serving the Dark Lord, as long as I'm serving the Dark One, who cares how I go about it, because there's multiple routes there. So, Face, I was surprised we didn't get to see it. I mean, to be fair, with the aftermath of last episode, it kind of makes sense, but I was like, I'm surprised we didn't see any Leandrin, because we did not catch up with that, because she's still, like, in play, because no one knows Leandrin's, like, the only people who know are, Egwene, Nynaeve, and, Elaine. So that's going to be an issue. She's going to have to disappear, and so we're definitely not going to be seeing her kicking at the White Tower anymore. She's going to be, like, on the run, most likely, from her fellow sisters. So, but like I said, like, even the Amaran's kind of been, like, removed from the equation just for a little bit. Once again, even Lanfear is like, right, I could still use an Amaran, even a broken one. So it's like, you're going to serve your purpose. It's like, how far ahead is Lanfear planning things? Great, not everything goes to plan, but we'll get to that later. Because I was wondering what her whole situation was. She brought up the stones. I didn't realize the stones that she was telling that guy, like, oh, take him to the water and send him so far deep no one can find him. I didn't know that those were the same things that her and Ishmael were staring at, and what the significance of that is. Once again, we'll get to that later on. But, so yeah, like, at the same time, like, all of our characters are meeting in Falme, there's also the White Cloaks who are staging an attack. They're going to free Falme from the scourge that is the Sichan. So they came and, like, once again, like, it's like, oh, ask help from the Amaran seat. Didn't hear anything back from Kings and Queens. The White Cloaks are the only one that stood up. It's like, they're on their own warpath and stuff like that. I mean, as we know, they go up against Aes Sedai and stuff like that, even hunt them and take the rings and stuff. But it's kind of weird them being the pseudo good guys, but it's like, they're just not the bad guys for right now. It's like, we'll deal with them later, but for now, they're actually kind of helping free a town from the Shechen's, domination of this place. But either way, let's start off with Egwene's situation. Egwene, with the White Cloaks hitting the town, like, Egwene and, like, Randall's like, okay, you're gonna, like, we're going to the tower and we're gonna fight, but Egwene's kind of denying her. It's like, you do that, you don't follow orders the first time, you lose your tongue. After that, you lose your hands, and put the blade in her mouth and was like, good, now follow me, and has her attack, which Egwene kind of goes on because she kind of has no choice, but also she sees who it is. Like, she's got beef with the White Cloaks as well, but the problem is, when it came for the second volley, she didn't attack because she saw the innocent people that were there, and it's like, she also saw, like, regardless of my issues with the White Cloaks, they're helping people, because the Shan are the ones that are, it's, once again, it's like two wrongs, but the White Cloaks are the lesser of the evil, plus she sees, like, the area I'm supposed to hit, I'm going to be hitting innocent people, there's innocent people mixed up in this fight who didn't ask to be a part of this. The argument could be like, well, they submitted. So, I mean, it's like, once again, it's like when a conquering force comes in, either you submit or you get killed. I mean, they came ruling with an iron fist and kind of put the people in this town in their place. So, but Egwene wasn't about all of that. And I was like, oh, go ahead, stand up to her. I was like, Egwene made it clear. She was like, the moment I get a chance, I will kill you. And everything, because we see with the Egwene thing, which we'll circle back to, not with the Egwene, with the Nynaeve of it all, which we'll circle to later. But we saw that the moment the collar doesn't come off until the Demone dies, the channeler, or if the person that, because the person who's they're linked and tied together, so it's like the moment, I guess, either one of them dies, the other dies, whether it's the person who's got the collar, controlling the Demone, like, right, they die, the Demone dies. If the Demone dies, they die, as the person who controls the collar dies as well. So we saw that earlier. So when Egwene sets up and she still has a collar, it's like, oh, Ren is still alive. That's all you needed before she even revealed herself. But I was like, the moment they paid attention to that, which I think is very poetic, the if I'm not mistaken, that the woman that was there, that who collar Egwene took, that's the Blue Aja that was like her in the cell beside her. It's like, hey, you held out longer than me. So in that moment, you saw Egwene making her declaration, like she didn't say anything, but with her eyes, I'm like, I'm breaking out of this, and I'm going to kill her. I mean, she literally said it last episode, but the moment she had that collar, I was like, you're going to make up. I was like, yeah. And it's like, right now you can't hurt me because I put the collar on you. But the problem is they're still bound together. And because of that, if Rhaena dies, so will Egwene. And I think it's so interesting, too, because Egwene's like, because she's like, oh, it's not going to work on me because I don't channel. She's like, it only works on people who channel. And Egwene's like, oh, I know. And then it starts working on her. And it's like, wait, it doesn't make any sense. And Egwene's like, the reason why, like, you can see the weaves and stuff and why we link together so well, because we are one and the same. We're two channelers, but your connection to the power is so weak that no one ever came to find you and put you in a White Tower. But you are chaining up your, like, that means everyone of the people that were chosen to kind of like take control of the Mame, like the other women who channel, you're also women that can channel too. So you're doing, like, you had this because they had this separation of like, right, you're meant to serve, yeah, power is meant to be wielded, but it's like, you have that power too. It's just so weak inside of you. So you are doing this to people. You try to separate it, try to treat them like they're less than human. That in turn makes it like, oh, if they're less than human, what does that make you in the grand scheme of things? It makes you wonder, did the C-Chan as a whole, do they know that? You know, was that like a kept secret, or were they just completely unaware? Once again, the power's so weak inside of them, they never recognized it in each other. No one ever did because it's that weakened, and that's why they were never taken and brought to. And that's the sad thing. Like, who Rhaena's story could have been completely different if she was taken to the tower, but she never would have been because her powers are so weak. So, but Rhaena was like, right, you try and kill me, I will, like, you'll die with me. And Egwene wasn't going to budge because it's like, she knew it was sucking, but it's like, she's built up enough tolerance of like, I will deal with this. And it's like, Reno couldn't handle it. It's like, okay, if I let you go, maybe you'll show mercy on me. It's like, are you, what? Are you stupid? Nah, you just certified your death warrant because I made it clear to you. I will kill you. Sure as hell did. I was curious whether Egwene was going to back out at the last second. You could tell she was tortured a little by it, because it's like, regardless of how much of a piece of shit Rhaena is and just how this whole society treats women who can channel, it's still a thing of you are killing someone. And it does, you know, because she attacked Home Dude, who was a white cloak last episode, but she's never actually killed a person. Like, I don't even remember she's killed Trollocs, hasn't she? But she's never killed a person, so there's a little difference there. If she has even killed Trollocs, I don't even remember now. But yeah, and I think that's a powerful moment. It's, you know, I'm comparing and contrasting to so many different stories, but it's kind of like, I mean, either version of it, whether it's the live action adaptation or whether it's just a video game itself, it's very much like Ellie with The Last of Us. That moment was hers. They made it even more hers in the live action, you know, without spoiling it. But like, yeah, it kind of felt like that, because it's like, right, like, we know Rand is there. He saw Egwene. He was trying to make his way to her. He even said, like, I came here to save you, but I didn't need to. I think it's more important that it was Egwene's moment on multiple levels, because for one, it shows her, like, this is how strong I am. I don't need to be rescued. I can do the rescue myself. But two, it also stains her a little bit, because it's like, you know, because what does that mean for Egwene now that she's taken a life? Like, is she going to beat her? Like, regardless of the circumstances, she probably never really thought of herself fully capable of that until push comes to shove. I mean, that's any, you know, that's that. I mean, it's all there in all, like, you know, even us humans, we are animals at the end of the day, and that animal instinct is written in our DNA. We have societal norms, the society and its rules to be like, don't give in to those instincts, but it's there, and that feral side of humanity can come out in those moments, because it's do or die in a situation like Egwene was in. And so, it's sad that no one else on that tower could be, say, like, everyone, all the other, like, women that were channelers, like, are all dead. Same thing with the boat situation with Moraine, but we'll get to that in a second. But I think that was so interesting that, like I said, that moment was kind of hers and hers alone. And even when Rand shows up, and Rand's not judging her, it's not like but it's like, right, it's guilt over, right, she had to kill someone because of me. Like, once again, like, Rand might have done more harm than good, and that might even been Lanfear's point. I mean, it was all to lead him to Falme regardless, but she probably did that, like, I don't know, I said it at the time, I'm unclear whether she knew how much of an impact that would have on Egwene. Like, if it wasn't like maybe seeing Rand and thinking it was a dream and she's losing her, that maybe that kind of helped it make it a little easier for Rhaena to break her to some extent. Maybe, maybe not. I talked about it at that time, and maybe I was reading way too much into it, but whatever the case may be. So those are Egwene's circumstances. Back to Nynaeve. It's not just Egwene we see a darker side, and we see a darker side in everyone. I mean, to be fair, Matt already had his dark side out there on the front. It's just, his journey has been about battling his darkness, whereas everyone else is kind of mounting up to their darkness. Because Nynaeve has got that lady under her control, and even Elaine is kind of looking like, okay, do we have to go this far? But she starts seeing like a nastier side to Nynaeve of like, oh, like, I will make you basically regret even your mother's first kiss from your father. Like, I will make you regret like that far back before you were even a thought in your parents' head. Before they even got together, I will make you regret that they even got together. If you try and even wink or even like utter a word of help as we're making our way to the tower. So, but like I said, you see that side of Elaine where she kind of looks at Nynaeve. It's like we've seen that Nynaeve has that. She has that extra kick. Like I said, these circumstances have bubbled that up because for her, it's just, she feels like especially after everything with the arcs, I think that situation is enough to bring up a lot in you. Once again, these circumstances are meant to set them up to go down a dark path. So it's not that out of nowhere. I mean, things were meant to lead down this path. I'll go ahead and jump ahead a little bit. I love that they make the direct parallel between Luz and just what happened in the past, where it's like history is repeating itself, where it's like, right, the people, Lanfear, Ishmael went down the dark path. They talk about it later on, like, it doesn't seem like Luz had that tight of a connection with the other Forsaken, but maybe he did to some extent. Maybe he has some bond with them, and so, because even Moraine and Lon were talking about it, like, it's like, right, it's history repeating itself, almost like, hey, here's Rand and the people he's closest to, the 4 other people he's closest to, who are all here now. It is almost like history's like repeating, where it's like, hey, the last dragon broke the world, because they are talking about Luz, right? Because it was the previous dragon that broke the world. Maybe wasn't Luz the previous dragon, or was there another dragon in between him and Rand? That's why I'm blanking on those details, because they said the last dragon is the one who broke the world, but he's the one that didn't want to break. Maybe he broke the world but didn't break the will, and maybe that's like he was being tempted down that path, but he decided not to go down that path. So he caused damage, but or like I said, maybe it's a different dragon. Like, once again, correct me, I'm an idiot right now. Like I said, it's my own fault for not rewatching season 1 in preparation, because I obviously there's a big gap between this and season 1, and so like. So I ended up forgetting quite a bit. So do forgive me. But, and I think this also spurs a little bit in Nynaeve this episode too, where it's like she feels kind of useless, because in the moment when people need her most, she can't really do anything for them. Like, even in the arcs, what was it? Like, she couldn't really do anything for her child or her friends. Like, they ended up dying, and she tried to take her child with her, and obviously it ended up being all an illusion. But now it's like, right, even when Elaine's got an arrow in her leg, it's like, right, I can't do anything for you. And it's like, all right, let's go save Egwene. You need to come along because you're the one she needs right now, not me. Because her resistance to her power, it's like when she needs it the most, she can't turn to it. And it's just because it's like, here I am, like, if I had my powers, like, if I was more in control, if I'd taken to that training differently, maybe I'd be able to help people right now, but it's like, I can't help anyone. And even when the time came to help Rand, which, like I said, we'll get to, she couldn't do it. Who had to do it? Elaine. Which makes me beg the question, like, is that a thing in the books? I kind of want to know, but I kind of also don't know. But it feels like that look between them felt like that's going to be a thing. I mean, it makes sense. She is the daughter heir. He's the dragon. So it feels like that might be kind of a similar parallel. I mean, it might, once again, history repeating itself, because Luz didn't end up with Lanfear. He ended up with someone else. And that's what sent her to the dark side, was because she walked away brokenhearted. So now I'm starting to think, because we already set up the whole last season that Perrin kind of likes Egwene. So it could easily be a situation of Perrin and Egwene get together, but I mean, but it could create but it could be a thing of Elaine, especially if Elaine and Lanfear. I mean, if Egwene and because Egwene and Elaine are good friends now. Because of that, it's going to cut even deeper when it's like, here's the person you love who you thought lost, you lost. I mean, that might be an issue in itself of like, I thought you were dead. I get you why you did what you did, but you fucked me up for quite a bit. You fucked all of us up for a little bit. So it's going to be a complicated thing. But the fact is, they had that moment where he was like, "Who are you?" And she's just kind of like, "I'm Elaine." I'm like, yeah, that felt like that felt like a moment where people who read the books were like, oh my god, especially because they have set up the Egwene and her friendship that it feels like that type of complicated love triangle thing does feel befitting. I mean, once again, even Perrin likes Egwene. We haven't really tackled that since last season because they haven't been around each other all season. So, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how things play out on that front. Speaking of Rand, I love that moment he had with Tarak, because they're like, oh, because the horn was stolen and everything, and I love how dude pulled out the blade like, oh, like you got that specific sword, let's see why like someone outside like of here has that type of sword, and it's like, nah, we about to have a sword battle? Fuck that. And just like, he kills every single one of them, except for the one dude who dies because he's like, oh, I'm bound to like die. If the bloodline dies, I have to die with him. So he ends up killing himself. But it's like, Rand just killed all of them. I was like, the home dude pulled out the blade like, oh, I'm about to have my moment. Nope. So that was interesting. Once again, I'm about to make a reference. How very Indiana Jones. I don't remember but which Indiana Jones. It might have been a third one where it's like the guy's flipping. He's got the scimitar in his hand and Indy's just staring at him. And then just like shoots. It's like supposed to be a duel moment. But it's like, fuck that. Pow. It kind of felt like that. So that was interesting. We had the Matt situation, which he gets visited by Paden Fane because he's meant to give the dagger to Matt, because it's like, right, if we can't get Rand to join our side, then we'll try again the next time the Dragon's Reborn, because it's just like, once again, he knows Lanfear is interfering, and if things don't go according to plan, he is like, I already know who's supposed to kill Rand, so leave the knife with Matt and trying to tug at that darkness in him, which I do think it's so interesting that Fane kind of walks away from this episode. I was kind of hoping Matt would get him, but I think it's more important that it's Perrin, because they set that up this season, that Perrin has to be the one to confront him to understand why he did what he did, like I said. But Matt thinking like, all right, I'm gonna use the knife to my advantage. I mean, being locked up in the White Tower has its benefits, because he said like, right, I've had enough experience in jail realizing, hey, there's more than one way to escape. So he ends up, rather than touching the knife directly, he uses, he puts it on a spear. He puts it on a piece of wood and ties it up. That way he's not directly touching the knife, but he gets to reap its benefits. I was like, yeah. And Matt's gloating in Fane's face because he was like, oh. And because he was like, yeah, in an hour, I knew you'd break convention. Wait, what? It's like, yeah, motherfucker. I was like rooting for Matt, who joins up with Perrin, who Perrin came in with the ILs, including Avienda, and they meet up with Ingtar and L'Oreal and the other dude, and it's like Ingtar's like, right, we got the horn, so we need to like go, but the problem is it's like we're not going to leave without the others. Ingtar sacrifices himself. The others try to make their way towards Rand. Matt gets the horn, which I love that he has his moment, and he ends up being the one that blows the horn, and we see, like, right, he's summoning these ghost warriors, including Ono, so it's like, it's very befitting that he shows up in front of Loyal and Perrin with the shield, which comes in handy later on. I love that whole situation. It's like this badass moment, especially with Matt spinning the spear, because he's like, I remember. Because I think it's the benefit of what Ishmael did for him, where it's like, right, I showed you your past lives, but it's like, yeah, he only focused on the bad, but it's like, right, there's other sides of me, because some of the ghosts are like, right, I've fought by your side many times before, so I, like, this is, you aren't just, no one is just the bad that they are, like, that's the human experience, like, yes, there's bad in, especially in this universe where, like, you're always getting spit out of the will again, there's going to be bad in some of your history, but there's also probably going to be good, too, and it's probably like, I mean, once again, from what we saw, we only saw, like, 3 or so instances of of the bad in him, but maybe the bad in him was really, really bad. Once again, it's all for the purposes of there's darkness in you. And it could be an easy thing of Matt's life has been very 50-50. Maybe sometimes he's been on the light side and other times he's been on the path side. So maybe his life and his destiny has always been that flip of the coin, and that puts him in a very precarious and very special place. Maybe that's what that's implying. Or maybe, like I said, it could just be Ishmael was like, no, I focus on the bad sides of your history, the different lives you had thanks to the will, but maybe he's had more good than bad, because he did say, like, I remember. But at least he remembered, like, I think more of the good than bad. So I'm curious to see how they shake that out and how that plays out going forward. Because he definitely has, like, also with his hair the way it is, he kind of reminds me of Robert, the actor who plays Klaus, because obviously, like, he's on his Klaus status right now. If you're unfamiliar, Klaus is number 4. Is his number from the Umbrella Academy. His whole thing is about the dead, so that it kind of definitely gives me makes me think of that. So you have, at the same time this is all going down, Matt's cutting through people. Perrin, his wolf buddy Hopper, like, dies because, like, he ends up crossing. Well, his buddy Dane, who he spared from, had Avienda spare him like a couple episodes back. Like, the moment his dad's there, I'm like, oh, there's probably gonna be something that happened to your dad, because they made that whole point of, like, right, you're kind of only in the position you're in right now because of your dad. And the moment his dad ended up killing the wolf, it's like, damn it, I wish you hadn't done that. Like, this guy, like, the guy, I'm blanking on his name, the dude that Egwene and Perrin have history with from last season. I was, like, hoping Perrin would have gotten his moment to kill him, but his wolf buddy came to save him, even though Perrin was like, please stay behind, like, it's not safe. And he protected Perrin and died in the process, and Perrin murdered him, which I love that moment where Matt blew the horn. Everything went into slow motion. I was like, is that the effect of it? But it's like, no, while he's summoning on the warriors, it slowed the world down all around. Because while that's happening, Moraine is off burning the boats that Lady Soraf is on, because they needed to shield Rand. And if he wasn't going to join them, then they needed to gentle him. So, but Moraine summoning up the fire, and I love how it just, like, went under the water and just, like, bam, bam, it just, like, went to different ships. So I'm assuming Soraf is dead. Maybe, maybe not. A lot of that Seachin Empire is, like, gone. I don't know if that's all their forces, or, like, maybe their forces are elsewhere, like a lot of their main forces, so we could still see them in the future. So Soraf could step up and kind of take over Turak's place like she wanted to, but, I mean, I don't know. We saw, like, the ship get hit and those ships went down, so she could be dead, but there's a good chance she ended up surviving. That's what I was bringing up earlier, too, about the sad thing of, like, because Moraine was like, I will kill 1,000 innocents, or at least let 1,000 innocents die, because that's what it means to serve Rand. And it's like, right, she was right to do what she did because they were stopping, but it's like those were innocent channelers who were forced into the situation, but I'm sure they would rather have death than... Because we never found out, there's a woman that got captured a couple episodes ago that Elaine and Nynaeve were working with. The one who, like, her warder was killed and she was trying to get her warder to kill him, but at the end of the episode, she got collared. So we never saw her. Maybe she popped up this episode and I just said, like, but I feel like they would have made more of a point of it. So maybe she was on one of those ships. Maybe she's here in town. Like, I don't know. Because she hadn't, like, she was super fresh to the kennel, so she probably hadn't been broken in yet. So she might still be at the kennel for all we know. Who knows? But Moraine doing her thing. Like I said, I love the fire, like, bouncing from ship and, like, taking down all the ships. And, especially because Ishmael has set everything up. It's like, all right, like, he's making his declaration to Rand, who's like, I've never sided with the Dark One in 1,000 different lives. I won't start here. But it's like, oh, you are so... She was right, Lanfear, that you are like Luz, but at the same time, you are different. And Matt had his moment. He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, God, he's going... Because I brought it up previously, I wasn't sure how the Matt situation was going to play out. It didn't play out exactly like Min saw it either, because Min saw him, like, directly stabbing him, but Matt, his experiences and everything, meeting up with Rand again, I think all those were reasons, knowing now, like, what my destiny holds for me, I'm going to fight against that. So he didn't do the whole chugging a spear thing, but, like, that's what, because Ishmael knew what Matt saw about his situation with Rand, so he knew like he'd come at it from a different way, but I still get the same end result. But luckily, everyone joins in, like the entire group is brought together. Elaine is healing Rand. Egwene stands in front of him. He's like, you can't stand in front of one of the chosen. He's hitting all these like attacks at her, but she's shielding like crazy. It's like she's standing her ground. But then Perrin shows up with the shield he got from Uno, and it's like he's blocking too. And because of Moraine and because of Elaine, Rand stands up, channels his power, and is deflecting off of Ishmael's and shoves his blade into him, and it ends up melting the blade but killing Ishmael. And it's like, it's so beautiful. And it's like, what do you see? He's like, nothing. And he turns to dust. So I'm like, it feels like that's implying that his death is permanent. He gets what he wants in the end. He wanted everyone else to have that freedom, but he himself now finally has freedom. And I think it's very poetic that his old friend, his good friend, is the one who ended up putting him down. Because Rand did for Ishmael what Luz refused to do. Maybe couldn't do. I don't know, maybe, but it feels like he's not going to get spun back into the wheel. Feels like he gets what he wants type of situation. So I don't know. I'm curious to see whether they, and if anything ever comes about it, it'll be a while down the timeline before we get to something like that, Ishmael returning, if he's being spun back into the wheel or not. So, but it is this momentous moment where it's just like our entire group's together, and Moraine knows what the prophecy says, so she summons up her power and she summons up a fiery dragon to symbolize Rand, and everyone down below is staring as our warriors are all together, and it is this beautiful, powerful moment. So I was like, interesting. So we weren't quite, like I said, at the time I wasn't quite sure what Lanfear had planned, but here she is strolling in afterwards like, kind of proud. And, I was like, so what did you get out of all this? And she goes to a very specific room and she sees someone waiting, which I saw that actress's name because I recognized her name in the opening credits, which I didn't even talk about at all. We got the opening credits. I thought it was so interesting. Every episode last season had the full opening credits, but it's so interesting that they saved it for the finale this time. I wonder what was the reasoning for that. Because you still had the skip intro button option even with the shorter intro. But I just thought that was so interesting. I kind of miss it, especially because I kind of haven't seen the intro in its entirety since last season, since episode 8 of last season. So I was kind of like, oh, but it's kind of nice getting to see it in the season finale at least. But either way, the actress's name, I hope I'm not butchering it. It might be either pronounced Leia or Laia. I presume it's like Leia because it's Laia, Costa. And I was like, because I saw her name, because I recognized her name, because she was in the first season of a show called Devil. I want to say she was also in an episode of the show on AMC called Soulmates. So I can't remember. I might have saw her in Soulmates first before I saw her in Devil. Filming stuff, you never know when stuff comes out, because they were both like, because that was already, I'm not going to go into the whole tangent, but I saw her name and recognized it. I was like, is that who I think it is? And she shows up at the end, and I was like, what? And then I saw the broken stone things behind her, and it's like, that's what you were trying to do. She was trying to make sure none of the other Forsaken got awoken, but Ishmael's final middle finger was like, nah, I can't trust Lanfear, so he let the others out. So that even, because it's like, she's going to betray me. I already knew it, so I had to have a contingency plan. And I'm going to butcher her name because I can see it spelled out, and Lanfear said it out loud. They've said it before, but it's like, Mahidin might be how you say it. Like I said, I can visually see it spelled out. I just can't remember the pronunciation. But her, she seems like she's going to be the creepy one, where it's just kind of, because Lanfear did talk previously about some of the ones that were sealed away, about why you chose me amongst all the other, because even he's like, why did I release you? You were, especially because it's considering what this job entails, it's you were necessary, because he was we balance each other out because of both of their affiliation and connection and feelings towards the dragon, the previous one at the very least. So it makes sense why like he would go to, because it's like, yeah, we balance each other out, but that balance, well, I guess you could say it worked in the end because Ishmael released the others, and now they've kind of all scattered, and my Maki did, and it's like, yeah, so you guys were always a little too buddy with the dragon. The rest of us don't have that problem. So it's like, yeah, like the dragon, as well as basically said all 5 of them, so including like everyone from Two Rivers, it's like they're all ours. So I don't know if they're going to individually go after each one because they are representative of, hey, like that group is kind of like us, the Forsaken. So, and once again, she's so creepy because you think Lanfear was kind of the spider. It seems like Mahiden is kind of more the spider because she traps her in webs, and she kind of like the weaves. She kind of weaves with her hands. It's like very, and then leaning it. It's like, oh, she seems the most psychotic, at least from what we've gotten. So I thought that's kind of a nice tease for the future. And even Lanfear being like, "May the light look after you, Ren," because you gotta. Because I was like, for one, I'm like, hey, that means Lanfear's not dead, but it's also like yeah, you might want to not stand in our way. She has eternal life, but even her showing that at the very least, well, it probably takes a little while to heal, but I was wondering if she could mitigate some of Lanfear's healing, because they did show her cut opening Lanfear's hand, or at least like the web so sharp that it cut her hand or whatever. So, but I'm assuming we're not done with Lanfear. I'm sure she's not done with Rand with everything going on. So what her role is, whether she's just going to do her own thing, because it's like, right, you're really going to just let Lanfear be out and about. So hopefully that means we're going to get more of her next season. So I think that'd be pretty dope to get more of her. In what capacity, once again, we don't know. But where our group goes now past all of this, now in the aftermath of last episode, what does that mean for Rand, especially with the White Tower? He's been announced to the world as a dragon. He still has to worry about going insane. There's still that, but he's with everyone again, like I said, dabbled in their own bit of darkness. Everyone went through their journey this season, but we're only in the tip of the iceberg, because Perrin ended up killing Dane's dad, now Dane is going to want revenge. It's like, I helped you because you spared me a couple episodes back, but now it's like, that was a mistake because I spared you. You were here to kill my dad. It's like, so, and plus Home Dude, who once again Egwene and Perrin knew from last season, the white cloak from last season, that dude, yeah, he's still out and about. So Perrin's going to definitely want to go after him because he already has beef with Perrin and Egwene. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the future holds. The show is coming back for a 3rd season. I was looking at something. I saw something kind of hinting that it was already greenlit for a 3rd season. But I was reading something that seemed like season 3 was already announced. Like they had already got greenlit for one before the 2nd season even aired. But they did start doing some filming, but granted they had to stop because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, because obviously a lot of stuff still kept filming even with the WGA strike. So, but with some of that kind of, at least the WGA's done, situation's done. I think that's already been ratified. Is ratified the right word? Or like the WGA like heads and everyone like the whole group like votes on whether they're like okay with everything. But obviously there's talks about like the WGA stuff was going, not the SAG-AFTRA stuff was going to be some of the meetings were this week, and might be some like over the Monday or whatever. So we'll find out soon enough. But with some of that kind of like heading more in a good direction, it's obviously the WGA deal, but also the SAG-AFTRA situation seeming like, all right, it might be heading in the right direction potentially. They'll probably get back to filming soon enough. Like, probably get a little bit sooner. I mean, obviously, we'd be getting a lot sooner if, obviously, productions hadn't stopped it. But obviously, it was for a good reason that everything stopped. But I doubt, I'm not going to, it's probably going to be a situation of maybe late next year we get the next season. Because maybe I'm mistaken. Wasn't, there a 2-year period between... Didn't the last season come out in 2021, I believe? It started in November of 2021, so kind of at the tail end. So, I mean, it makes sense with the scale of this show and probably like a lot of post-production stuff. I mean, just production-wise in general, like with just like the costuming and locations and stuff, but then you also add in the post-production. I mean, it's a high fantasy show like it is, so you have to count, like, out of any show, it would make sense that this would probably take a while. Like I said, there's some that they filmed, but there's still quite a bit left based on this article I was reading. But yeah, I'm excited to see where season 3 takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.